Travis Scott just broke a record. It's not a good record, it's a pretty bad record. It is the biggest fall off in the history of Billboard when it comes to the album charts, the Billboard 200. Today, we're going to talk about why Days Before Rodeo, the re-release, fell off this dramatically after actually claiming a #1 title after all. So let's jump straight into this. If you want to stay up to date with everything surrounding hip-hop, make sure to subscribe and also become a part of this community by joining our Discord server in the description. Real quick, if you don't want to listen to this, make sure to skip 10 seconds into the future, but you can now sign up for my free newsletter with the first link in the description. It comes every Sunday and recaps everything that's been happening in hip-hop over the past week, so make sure to do that. So Days Before Rodeo, the re-release, the one that we've been hyping up all August, released on August 23rd, and there was already a discussion going on for the week that it debuted on the Billboard 200 charts, which are the charts for the albums when it comes to the sales. But of course, we all know artists try to use different ways to boost their sales. Obviously, nowadays, sales aren't actual physical album sales anymore. They're counted into this as well, but they're only a very small portion of it. The majority of it is streaming, and the most important part for Travis as well, bundles. So digital albums that come with merch or with vinyls or any physical product. And Travis has always been someone that's used this tactic to boost sales, and we've discussed this in the last video that I dropped on Travis, where we said that there was this discussion going on about Days Before Rodeo not going #1 the week it debuted on the Billboard 200. Today I wanted to go through the couple of weeks that Days Before Rodeo has been on the Billboard charts, because as you can see here, Travis Scott's Days Before Rodeo becomes the first album in history to depart the Billboard 200 from the #1 spot. It breaks the record for biggest fall of all time. Now obviously this is not a great record to have, so this means that it was at #1 last week and then it fell off below 200. Because, you know, it's outside of the 200, so it's not even being counted anymore. This is obviously pretty dramatic, but it's not that bad. If we actually take a look at the different weeks of the charts, we can see why this happened. So let's start out with the week that it debuted on the charts, which was the week of September 7th, because it dropped on August 23rd, and so the week after it was being counted would be the week of September 7th. So this is up to September 7th, starting at September 1st or August 30th. I think it would be August 30th. And we can see that it debuted at #2. This was the situation that we were talking about end of August with Sabrina Carpenter, because there were a couple of units of sales that didn't get counted for Travis Scott. And it was very mysterious because it was like the exact amount of sales he would have needed to get #1. So there was a little bit of discussion going on if Sabrina Carpenter or any of her affiliates had kind of some strings being pulled here with Billboard, that she got that #1 spot, and Travis fans were pretty angry about it, and I think Travis as well, and that's why he was teasing new music. But this is all in the past, because if we take a look at the next week now, the week of September 14th, so the second week that it was being counted, you need to scroll all the way down to spot 30. Days Before Rodeo in its second week was at spot 30, which is understandable because it's not like it's an album that people have never heard before and that people just keep streaming, but it's an album that people, you know, just kind of like went back to the first week it dropped. And if we go to the next week that it was on the charts, we can see that we need to go down all the way to 106. So this was the week of September 14th that it dropped to 106. So this was already pretty low. And here comes the twist now. The next week, the week following the week of September 14th, this was the week of September 21st. What I want to say, following the week of September 21st was the week up until September 28th, so last week. So that was the week that it actually went #1. Travis actually did it. After he failed to do it in the first week against Sabrina Carpenter, it then went #1, and in second spot that week we've had Sabrina Carpenter, so he flipped it, which is pretty cool. Travis got a #1 for Days Before Rodeo, I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, I never would have thought that would still happen. So it jumped from 106 to number 1, which is already a pretty big jump. And then the week after, so now the week being counted up until October 5th at this point, it will be out of the top 200, which is pretty sad, but there's an explanation for this that a couple of people have already pointed out on Reddit, where this discussion also went down about why this was happening and what could explain this, but people rightfully so pointed to the vinyls. And, you know, some people actually said, okay, this makes you kind of question if Travis also actually, you know, played fair by going from number 106 to number 1 and then dropping below 200. That seems pretty suspicious too. I mean, you can't go against Sabrina Carpenter for going number 1 and then do this suspicious stuff, but there's an explanation, because here's one guy that laid it out pretty well. Here's a quick synopsis. People bought vinyls when Days Before Rodeo, not Rodeo, was competing with Sabrina, so that was the first week. Billboard didn't count those vinyls initially, causing Days Before Rodeo to start below Sabrina and drop the next week. So the whole story that we just went through. Billboard counted those vinyls later, causing Rodeo to jump out of nowhere. So that was that jump from 106 to number 1, and then Rodeo reached number 1 because of sales from a month ago, causing it to fall just as fast. So this is actually the way that it went down, because the vinyls were being sold the week that it dropped, the week prior as well with the pre-sale, but also the week that it dropped. So the week it was competing for number 1 initially with Sabrina Carpenter, and it ended up in second. Then it just kind of fell down the ladder to 30 to 106 because people just didn't stream it as much. The first week is always the most successful. And then it all the way jumped from 106 to number 1 again, because then those sales from the vinyls, because they were getting shipped out, because there was some delay with the recognition of the sales that come from the digital albums, the ones that are being counted as actual album sales, that was 3 weeks later, because it took that long for the merch and the vinyls to ship out. And then those sales were being counted, and apparently so many people bought merch and vinyls, and with it the digital albums, that it caused Days Before Rodeo to jump from 106 to number 1, beating Sabrina Carpenter. So I don't think this is in any way a bad record to break. This just shows that he has a dedicated fan base that can get him from 106 to number 1 just with vinyls. And that also shows that that initial number 2 was even more impressive, because that was when the majority of the digital albums, so with the vinyls and the merch, wasn't even being counted yet. And he still went pretty close to that number 1 without that extra help. So in a way, it's 2 number 1s now. And I feel like, I mean, I was looking at this, and, you know, a lot of people saw this and were kind of depressed and were like, oh no, what's going on? Is Travis falling off? No way. This is actually a pretty big W for him. Let me know if you agree with me. Also, we obviously have new Travis music coming out pretty soon. At least he's hinting at working on a new album. And I do think that Jack Boys 2 has a possibility of dropping either later this year or early next year. So make sure you stay subscribed not to miss out on any Travis news. But let me know what y'all think about the Billboard development for Days Before Rodeo, and if you think this can explain this pretty accurately. So all your thoughts on this, please let me know in the comments down below. If you watched this video to the end and liked it, and you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button, and go follow my social media, and most importantly, join my Discord in the description. Until the next one, you'll have an incredible day, and y'all take care.